Good morning again, everybody, from a beautiful sunny Southern California day. It's about 10:15 in the AM here in San Diego, and yeah, the sun, she's out and she's a-shining. I'm about ready to take the sweater off. This time of year, the nights are kind of chilly, but the days warm up just right. Wearing flip-flops and a t-shirt and hitting the barbecue by midday. But that's not what we're talking about here. Today, we're going to talk about this Georgia-Penn State matchup, a key matchup for both teams, as all of them often are at this time of the year, especially if you're on the bubble. And we have one team, Georgia, that is on the verge of clinching at least a tiebreaker scenario for the championship bracket. And we have the Penn State Nittany Lions that are sitting at 5-5. And really could use a victory here to solidify their chances at getting to the championship bracket. You got Hunter Taylor, a veteran owner in this league, veteran general manager. He's been with us since 2020, I believe. And it appears, based on the news, that Bagent is not going to get the start for the Bears this week. So that definitely hurts Georgia's chances. They don't really have anybody else right now. But Georgia was able to win without a quarterback early in the season, so they're basically losing 4 points a game if Bagent doesn't play. And when you look at the results for Georgia, weeks 1 through 6, that was before Bagent took over at quarterback for the Bears, they were still scoring pretty well. 44 points in week 6, 44 in week 5, 46 in week 4. And before that, they were kind of down in the 30s. But I'd go more with these scores from week 4 to 6. And then when you look at the scores after that with Bagent in the lineup, not really a lot of difference here. Although it is kind of concerning that they were dropping below 40 points sometimes, and that's with Bagent playing. But obviously, when you look at Penn State, they've got the superior quarterback right now with Tua Tagovailoa. So that's a pretty big advantage for the Penn State Nittany Lions, and I definitely have them marked down with the advantage at quarterback. So that brings us to the running game, and right here, Penn State is going to get Devon Achane back this week. And it looks as though Achane is definitely 100% going to come back for the Dolphins, and when you look at the games that he had before he was injured, pretty amazing stuff. And if he could get back to that level of play, he gives the Nittany Lions a good chance of winning this game. He was averaging almost 10 points per game, but of course, that was, a while back. He's been injured for some time. Looking at the game log, if I can get one on him, he stopped playing at week 5. So he's been out for 5 weeks, over a month. But leading up to that point, you can see what he was doing. He was a big play guy, though. So maybe that factors into things. He wasn't like a bell cow, as they say. He wasn't getting a lot of carries. He was just busting loose for big plays. You can see here there's a 67-yard touchdown run. There's a 76-yard touchdown run for Achane. But the Nittany Lions also have a couple of decent backs in Jaleel McLaughlin and Darrell Henderson, who are more than capable of doing something in the box score. Henderson is coming off of a bye. The Rams have a big rivalry game coming up against the Seahawks in Los Angeles. So I look for Henderson to be a mainstay of the offense there because of the quarterback situation in Los Angeles with the Rams. Jaleel McLaughlin had a pretty rough game last week, but, he's averaging 2.3. He's shown himself to be a talented back, so Penn State definitely coming with some backs, coming with a running game in this one. By comparison, Georgia really doesn't have much to offer. Zach Charbonnet had a decent game last week. I'm not sure what they can expect from him, maybe a decent game. And if he does come through, it will help the Bulldogs to be competitive in this game. But they really are going to be hurt by losing their quarterback, and then they're definitely playing from behind at the running back position. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been a total disappointment since being a high rookie draft pick a couple years ago. And Charbonnet, he's got a future, but maybe it's not quite here yet. I think he's their best bet to put forth some kind of a running game. But once again, Penn State gets the obvious advantage in this department. Staying with Georgia, let's look at the the wide receivers. And as you can see, definitely talented with George Pickens and Brandon Ayuk. KJ Osborne might be impacted by the potential return of Justin Jefferson. We'll have to see how that plays out. He will especially be affected because he is wide receiver 3 status, if I'm not mistaken. We can see that here. Yes, he is wide receiver 3 status. And if Jefferson comes back, then it will cost this guy some targets in the passing game there with the Vikings. Other than that, not a lot of guys to speak of here for the Bulldogs. Looking at Penn State and their passing game, their wide receiver group, Jordan Addison, the other Viking wide receiver that is going to be impacted by Justin Jefferson. But Addison has the advantage of being wide receiver 2, and he's a good one too. I mean, even with Jefferson on the field, Addison was excelling. And you can see that he's averaging 4 points a game. Now, that is with Jefferson out for some time, but still. I think Addison, because of the injury to Jefferson, they're going to probably not, just utilize Jefferson as much as they did pre-injury. So I see Addison stepping up and having a decent game. That will give Penn State something to counter the superior wide receivers of Georgia. But beyond Addison, they're kind of falling off pretty quickly here. Christian Watson, I think he's got an injury issue, but he is going to play. He has practiced. Van Jefferson on a bye, and he wasn't doing much anyways. Other than that, they do not have a lot of talent here, at least guys that are producing right now. The tight end position is one where it's basically a push almost, but in spite of the fact that Georgia has Kyle Pitts, he's out with a bye, and that definitely gives them nothing at tight end. So the advantage, once again, has to go to Penn State here at this position, but it's a slight advantage. I mean, maybe they get a big game from Bates. If they do, this really gives Penn State a lead. So it's going to come down to defense for the Bulldogs. And fortunately for the Bulldogs in this league, they are like their real-life counterparts. They have a great defense. It starts with the pass rush, Justin Matabiki, and I think Matabiki played in Thursday Night Football, and indeed he did, and he had a decent game. Matabiki with 3 tackles and 1 sack. He had 2.8 fantasy points, so he has already done his job for Georgia Bulldogs. Then they've got DJ Wanham at number 2. This guy here, Adeyingbo, is going to be out. Dio Adeyingbo will miss the game with the bye. He's coming off of a huge game, so they will miss him. But they've still got Jalen Carter of the Eagles. He could put up a big game, perhaps. He averages almost 2 points a game. When you look at the Nittany Lion defense up front, they're quite horrible. Victor Dumekee is leading the pack with 1.8 fantasy points. He's not coming off of a particularly good week. As you can see, 0.3 points isn't going to get it done. I mean, Penn State might just throw up a 0 at this position. And you can see that they have some buys as well, with Keon White out, Isaiah Foskey out, and these guys weren't even that good to begin with. So check mark goes to the Georgia Bulldogs here for sure. Leads us to the linebackers. Penn State definitely excels there with Jordan Brooks, one of the best linebackers in all of football. And then they have Micah McFadden, who's having a solid season, as well as Dennis Gardeck of the Cardinals. Decent group of linebackers here. They definitely can step up. So the question is, what does Georgia have to offer at the position? Well, they actually have quite a bit. And they are healthy and bye-free. They've got TJ Edwards coming off of a big week, averaging over 4 points a game at the position. You've got Quincy Williams, same thing, over 4 points a game. Dre Greenlaw, averaging over 3 a game. They are stacked at linebacker there in Georgia. Hunter Taylor's defense is looking solid and looking capable of making up the difference that they're going to lose in the offensive side of the ball. But much of this is going to depend on how well Tua Tagovailoa plays in this game. Tua is capable of throwing up a huge game and winning it by himself, putting the Penn State Nittany Lions on his shoulders. But defensively, this game is really shaping up in the favor of the Georgia Bulldogs. The defensive backfield for Georgia is going to take a little bit of a hit because Julian Blackmon is out with a bye. He's their best guy. Josh Metellus will play, and he's averaging 3. Diomodre Lenore is averaging almost 3 points a game. So he's solid. He gives them something. But, they're not like dominant in the secondary. This might be a chance for Penn State to get back into the game a little bit, and they do have the bodies to do it. There is an issue here with Amick Robertson, but I believe he is going to play. He has a concussion issue, so that could play a factor in his availability. Derek Forrest, if I'm not mistaken, might be out. He's just going to come off the IR this week. He has a shoulder issue, so there's no telling how much of a factor he will play in this game. After that, the talent falls off, and they're not very deep, with only Michael Jackson and Kendall Vilder on the end of the rotation there at defensive back. So they're really going to depend on Jalen Johnson and Trent McDuffie coming up big. And as you can see, these guys didn't have all that great of games last week, but maybe they're due for a big game. But I'm going to have to give the check mark to the Georgia Bulldogs here once again in the secondary, in spite of the fact that they're without their best guy, Julian Blackman. I think that they are the better team defensively. It really does boil down to Tua Tagovailoa and that running attack for Penn State, I think. If these two positions dominate for them, if they dominate at quarterback and running back, they've got a good chance of winning this game. And as you can see, Tua Tagovailoa, the fourth-year quarterback, formerly of Alabama, is having a great year. Now, he didn't play so well pre-bye week. He was on a bye last week. He had about 5 points in week 9. 8 points in week 8. I mean, you can see these games over the last 3 weeks, the week 8 game was acceptable, but there was no dominant games. Early in the season, he had some big ones, though. Week 1, week 3, big games right there. So it shows, he is very capable of that. He can have multiple touchdown games. I really think that it's important for Penn State to get a huge performance from Tua Tagovailoa. The fact that Bagent isn't going to be starting this week really hurts Georgia. And the fact that they're not especially talented at running back means that this wide receiver group is going to have to excel. And, of course, they're going to have to take advantage of their superior defense to win this game. If Georgia can't take care of business, they've got Alabama and Tulane on the schedule. So that's good news for them because those are both very winnable games. If they win here today, they get 7. If they win here this weekend against Penn State, they've got 7. So they're very close. There could be some tie breaks, though, remember. So the idea for Georgia right now is they want to get over. They want to beat 2 of these 3 teams here that they're facing down the stretch and just force their way into the championship bracket. For Penn State, they've got California and Alabama, and these are winnable games for them. Cal is going to be a tough one. Bama's tough too, but these are winnable games. One thing you got to remember about Alabama is now they're going to get Justin Fields back. So that's going to make a big difference. Can Justin Fields hold on to the job? That's another question. But if he does, Alabama's back in the running here, and they're going to be a tough opponent. So I really think that Penn State needs to win this game. This is going to be an interesting matchup. You've got Penn State coming in with a chain. He's back and healthy. He was a second-round pick when I was running this team, Penn State, before I got Denny Copeland to join. And I saw that Achane was special, as I selected him with the 19th overall pick, second round this year. So he's going to play a key role in this game, as will Tagovailoa. Georgia, again, going to need that defense. But another exciting game here as we get down to the nitty-gritty. We get closer to bowl season. These games get bigger and bigger, and should be a lot of fun this weekend. All right, that's going to be the last preview of the weekend. I'm going to do a wrap-up show tomorrow, just kind of cover all the rest of the games, and just do it in a quick show, hopefully about 20 to 25 minutes. And then, of course, there'll be the scoreboard show either Monday. I think I work Monday night, so I will do that on Tuesday after the games are complete. So that's our weekend schedule, kind of the upcoming schedule. But good luck in the games. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.